Since its debut back in 1996, the Dead or Alive franchise has been both popular and controversial for a lot of different reasons. And while it has built a very strong fan base over the years, it's never quite reached the level of growth you've seen with other fighting games. So in today's video, I'm changing things up a bit and I'm sitting down with longtime guest Temp for a more podcast style discussion about why DOA hasn't grown the way it should, especially when it comes to games mechanics and how the game appeals to new players. This is part 1 of a 2-episode series we're doing, and I think you're really going to enjoy the conversation. Now don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below if you like these more long form discussions that I have. If you do like these, please let me know and I'll do a lot more of these. Now let's get after it. Temp, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on, dude?
Hey, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And by the way, this is take 2. We did record the other day and we both actually came to an agreement that it was terrible. So
I was talking a lot of shit and I'm thinking like, I know a lot of that's going to be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
I just know that is not going to be taken the right way. Even though I didn't mean any of it like in a way that was negative or offensive to anyone, but I'm thinking like, they're not going to understand what I said. I need to really clarify what I meant by that. So
yeah. That's really good. Yeah. And it was really funny too, because as soon as we were done recording, like I walked away and I was like, oh, this is going to be a nice little break from editing videos and stuff. And I literally was like, oh man, I really don't like that, but I don't want to be, I don't like anything that happened, like any of the things that we said, but I don't want to, I don't want to be rude. And be like, hey, bro, can we do it again? But and the very next morning, you're like, hey, I really don't like what we said. I really don't like anything that went there. Can we re-record? So
yeah, I think my exact words were is like, people are not going to take this. People are not going to understand what I was saying. They're going to take this the wrong way, especially about the hold system. So
yeah,
we got to try this again. If we
do. And just to kind of to give an explanation about what we mean so people don't take this the wrong way. It's not that we said anything necessarily wrong or offensive or inappropriate. We just didn't articulate our points very well is really what it was. So
yeah, 100%. I agree with, I stand by everything I said in that version of the podcast that is never, ever going to see the light of day.
Maybe. But I'm
right?
just kidding.
Right? No, but I said everything I believed. I was going to say it better this time.
I'll throw in like, special features, have some like, bloopers or something like that.
You'll get to hear on the DVD release. That'll be great.
Oh, the premise of this recording was why Dead or Alive has not grown larger over the years and what we can do to fix it. And I wanted to reiterate, because almost every one of my videos that I've made, I've tried my best to come up with not necessarily an answer, but at least some sort of maybe try this kind of thing. Like, I don't want to just say this was crap, this was crap, this was crap. I want to say this was bad. This is what may have worked better. When we came up with the premise, why hasn't it grown larger? I think we were both kind of like, well, we got to come up with a reason behind it, like not only a reason, but what could have been done better.
Yeah. And it's not clean either, right? Mm-hmm. There's no clean answer because the problem itself is not clean, in my opinion. It's a very complex problem to solve. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of why I get why everyone dislikes DOA 6, but I think DOA 6 was an honest attempt to solve the core problem. I think they got the problem right. I just think their solutions sucked. But I think they understood what the problem to solve was.
And that problem
which is why I'm a little
what?
More sympathetic to that game. I think the big issue with DOA, really from the very beginning, is that more so than any other fighting game, the distance between the beginner level and the early intermediate level is just vast. It's such a canyon. With Tekken, if you can do down forward 2, you can do reasonable damage in that game. You can actually be kind of dangerous, at least towards other scrubs and whatnot. I mean, hell, if you take a new player who has never played fighting games before and you teach them how to combo after Snake Edge, they're going to go on an adventure. And DOA doesn't have that, right? DOA, you have to learn the hold system.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful system, but it's a lot. And I think, like, for you and me, like, we have a history in 3D fighting games. So we understand what a mid is. We understand what a high is. We understand what a special mid is. We understand what a low is. If you don't know that, and you're going, like, directly into the triangle system, that is just unbelievably overwhelming. And I think DOA was trying to tackle that problem, even if they didn't come quite even if they didn't land on the right strategy, I think they understood what they needed to fix, right?
Yeah, I would agree. Which was the barrier to entry is they're trying to fix basically how can we make the hold system more accessible. In the process, they replaced the triangle system, and instead we talked about this yesterday too, and I really like this well, like I said, it got rid of the triangle system completely, but they didn't make the hold system kind of enunciate the importance of it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think there's some of that. I mean, I definitely agree. I kind of feel like that may have always been a problem, though. Mm-hmm. I think that's always been sort of an issue. Like, when I bought DOA 2 on the Dreamcast, on the day it came out, I don't even think I knew about the hold system for the first week I played the game. I was just punching people. And I was having a great time doing it. I loved that game. I don't think they've ever really emphasized that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think there's other things that feed into that problem. So it was easier back then when you could sell DOA on graphics and you know, beautiful girls and whatnot, and just like really cool like cinematic interactions.
Right.
And also, like, if you're making all your money on costumes, it creates an alternative incentive to not really sell the triangle system. And I think those days are done. Not in general, but specifically for DOA, because I think that Firecrackers popped. I don't think you can sell everyone 1,000 costumes again. Mm-hmm. At least I don't think so. I'm open to being wrong about that. I think it's gonna be tough to do another DOA 5. Yeah,
I'm gonna say that you're wrong on that. And the main thing I would point to is Street Fighter 6 because of because they have significantly less costumes than they did in Street Fighter 5, and then in Street Fighter 6, everybody's saying, "Hey, where's the costumes? We want costumes. Give us costumes. We're ready to buy costumes. Please give us costumes." And they're not giving costumes. Whereas Street Fighter 5, they had tons and tons of costumes, and everybody loved them.
Well, I think Street Fighter 6 specifically is a famine situation. Mm-hmm. They just don't have a lot of anything really. They've been really bad about like costume DLC in general. Mm-hmm. When Street Fighter 5, you know, wallpaper your whole house with Street Fighter 5 costumes and never run out.
Like every Chun-Li, you could just make Chun-Li like posters across this entire wall and call it wallpaper.
So, yeah, I could make a mural of all the Chun-Li costumes and Mika costumes, and I would run out of space. I wouldn't even get to all the costumes, right? So
right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so costumes are never going to go out of style in general, but I don't know.
Even games I want to point out too is like games like Guilty Gear and Granblue. Like it wasn't Granblue that like one of the first anime fighters that actually brought costumes in.
Yeah, well, it's one of the first ones that actually made them like a reoccurring staple. Mm-hmm. But even then, they're still kind of slow feeding the costumes. Yet you have to play an entire battle pass to get one costume. Now, there's been some exceptions to that. Like Catalina got a costume that showed up in the store, but that's not really the norm, though. Generally, you have to do a battle pass. And really, I've never quite bought into the whole narrative of we can't make costumes for Guilty Gear because it's just too much work. Mm-hmm. Because like less than 48 hours of release, we get all costumes from the modders. So it's like the story's not adding up anymore. I don't understand what's going on. And I would love to see them answer for that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's a quality issue. The characters look good. At least I've never like downloaded and used the mods, but from the footage, they look okay. So it's like, what's really going on here?
Yeah, and I also like that makes me kind of wonder what the Japanese culture is when it comes to that too, because I know that a lot of people are saying like Street Fighter is you know, they cater to the Japanese audience more than they do the Western audience, but Arc Systems games has been notoriously, you know, lacking in the costume department, and then you know, Street Fighter and Tekken is like, especially Tekken is like all these crazy customizations and costumes. So it makes me wonder like what the Japanese market is and why haven't they been like, oh, you know, like, hey, the West wants costumes. Why don't we sell them to the West?
I think there's two problems there. Mm-hmm. At least theoretically, I don't know anything for sure.
Okay.
But I imagine one problem is that they are not focusing a lot of resources on Street Fighter 6 right now. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very small crew at the moment. And I think combined with that, and this is just a theory, I could be wrong about this, but I think they brought in a very expensive consulting company who said people hate costumes, especially beach costumes. They cannot stand them. Don't ever make those. They won't make any money. And I think Capcom was just stupid enough to believe that.
Yeah, and then they go release the swimsuit costumes. Everyone was like, finally, yes. All right, let's go.
Like, just imagine like, the ocean of people with surprised Pikachu face that the people actually wanted costumes. Like who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Dead or Alive is sitting there like, we've been doing this for years. Like, and you always gave us crap for that, and then you released this, dude. What the heck?
Well, I mean, that goes double for Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur is the biggest offender on that.
Yeah. No, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's just So okay, let me maybe rephrase what I said.
Okay.
I think it won't work twice if DOA 7 looks like DOA 6, which kind of also looked like DOA 5. I think you have to completely change, like, not the style, but just the visual fidelity of the game, which is exactly what Street Fighter 6 did. Mm-hmm. Like, the first time everyone saw Chun-Li in Street Fighter 6 in her reveal trailer, everyone's like, whoa, that's Chun-Li? You need something like that. I do think DOA 6 looks quite a bit better than DOA 5, but I mean, there's no comparison. The jump from Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 6 was massive. And I would say that is even more true of Tekken 8. Mm-hmm. That's one reason why I'm always going to love Tekken 8 is because I can finally play a version of Asuka that doesn't look terrible.
Wait, dude. I'm sorry. Asuka, dude, in my opinion, Asuka looks terrible, but that's just me.
Really?
But,
okay, well, let's roll with that. I can play a version of Lily that doesn't look like she has a skin disease. I can do that now.
Okay.
On a modern gen console. Maybe she look better in Tekken 5, but I can't play
just has
Tekken 5,
no
right?
neck.
Well, yeah. I'm fine with it. I think it's okay. She's cute. but you see what I'm saying though, right? Like now granted, it
the
didn't
visual
always
fidelity
work
I can get behind that. I can understand that.
Yeah, because there's a big, if you have a new DOA game with Tekken 8's graphics, there's going to be a big difference between the sexy witch costume in DOA 5 versus the sexy witch costume in DOA 7. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to be completely different entities altogether. Mm-hmm. That wasn't really true of DOA 6, which made the costume endeavor a little harder to sell to people, I think. And other thing, I mean, there were a lot of problems with that system. But I think that there was the...
You're starting to sound a little different than what we did yesterday, because yesterday we both kind of agreed that DOA 6 is heaps and bounds, like, graphically above. Now, so the graphic fidelity...
Well, I do think it is much better, yes. Okay. I think it's a huge improvement.
No, it's a massive improvement. I kind of said this yesterday, was I felt like it's a little disingenuous when I see people say how DOA 5 looks better, and it looks better than DOA 6, and that it can't even compare to DOA 6. And I was like, I mean, I don't know if we're looking at the same game. Like, yeah, the face models, and for DOA 5 in 2012, you can see its age. But in DOA 6, it's like it's clearly like a 2019 game. You can see that, and it's very, very well done. The graphics. Okay, if you take, for instance, the Halloween costumes in DOA 5 and you compare them to like the witch costumes in DOA 6, it's like, to me, it's like a night and day difference.
Interesting. I do think there is a difference. Uh-huh. I don't know how drastic the difference is. Mm-hmm. I may check that in a second, actually. But
now the Santa Claus costumes, the Christmas ones, that's a little different because they're literally the same costume over again.
Well, that might be a better comparison. Then that's when the actual fidelity matters the most, in my opinion.
Okay, like, so taking the same costume and put them in DOA 5 and DOA 6.
Yeah, I would say so now. But there's a lot of like classic costumes that people were begging for in Tekken 8, just because like it is a big leap. Like having Asuka's her Tekken 5 primary and say Tekken Tag 2 is just night and day different from having it in Tekken 8. That is a really big jump. And Tekken 7 as a whole just did not look very good to me. I don't really like the way that game looks, honestly. I think
I'll admit that
was way better.
I'll admit that Tekken 8 looks a lot better, that's for sure. But Tekken 7 played way better.
I mean, I broadly that's a really complicated subject, right? So
I think there are things I love about Tekken
8. We're steering a bit here, but I don't want to lose my audience. I don't want to lose the audience here because they're here to see why DOA hasn't grown larger over the years, and we're sitting here talking about Tekken and Street Fighter. So I mean, we're definitely going back to Street Fighter again because I think the Street Fighter parallels with what DOA 7 could be are very important.
Okay.
I don't think it's any secret that the reason Street Fighter 6 is the way it is right now is because of the drive system. I think that opened a lot of doors for people. Now, granted, I would never want to.
It opened doors or closed? What do you?
I think for Street Fighter 6, it opened a lot of doors. Okay. Like right now, I think to be successful in DOA, you have to have a really good grasp on the whole system, right? At least in the early levels of Street Fighter 6, drive impact is very powerful. And even if you're playing, even if a beginner is playing a very, very talented Street Fighter player, if they don't have a good sense of their risk appetite for drive impact, they're going to get tagged. That's in DOA. You don't really have anything like that, but that means everyone could be a little dangerous in Street Fighter 6. But here's, I think we both agree, we don't want them to drastically change the whole system. We don't want them to water it down.
The whole system is like deeply ingrained into the identity of DOA, of Dead or Alive in general. Dead or Alive is both a hyper aggressive and a hyper defensive game. And you mentioned earlier, I did want to comment on this, is that the casual player, or the non-competitive player in comparison, or even just someone who's like slightly getting into it, trying, versus like the competitive players, is leaps and bounds ahead. I mean, the same kind of goes, you can find a ton of good Street Fighter players, but even the top tier pros are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of even those players. But I don't think it's as big of a gap as it is with Dead or Alive. Because with Dead or Alive,
100%.
Dead or Alive, the top tier player, the knowledge that they have behind every character to know, okay, if they're going to press, a punch forward kick, or, punch back kick, or punch, they know every single character of what's coming, when they're going to throw mid, when they're going to throw low, they know all the holds. So that that mind game that you have to play with them is extremely important. And the fact that every character is both hyper aggressive and hyper defensive at the same time, and that you have a universal mechanic that makes every character a defensive character, makes it that much harder, especially when you get into the top levels.
And if we remove the hold system or change it drastically, that system is just gone. It's gone forever. But if you remove Drive Impact from Street Fighter 6, imagine Capcom's like, no more Drive Impact. We hate it. It's gone. I could literally boot up City of the Wolves, and the same mechanic is there in the SPG system.
And you said that, and I agree with this, by the way. The SPG system is the way, what you said, I think what you said, this is like 2 weeks ago or something, is that the SPG system is what the Drive system should have been.
Yeah, I think my exact words were that the new Fatal Fury is just a better Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion. In my opinion, everyone's free to disagree with that.
City of the Wolves is much more of a classical 2D fighter.
Well, I love combo construction in that game. I just love neutral in that game in general. I love the anti-air conversions. I love everything about it. The one thing I don't like about the game really is how they limited like good mobility to certain characters. I hate that not everyone can run. That's really the only major problem.
The fact that Mai can't run. Yeah, you said that you don't like that Mai can't run. Like, that's stupid.
The fact that Terry Bogard, some dude, is able to like sprint forward, but Mai, the fucking ninja, has to dash makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
none. But I mean, speaking of Fatal Fury, like that's another game that also kind of got some of its clout on fan service too. Mai kind of predates everything DOA as far as I know. Well, I mean, not even as far as I know. For sure, that is the case.
Right. Yeah. That's a great segue into kind of where we lead into why it has not grown larger, because the market for Dead or Alive back in the, all the way from, I wouldn't even say number 1, but number 2 through whatever, probably starting with 2 and going into 4, it's always marketed as the sex appeal first and the mechanics are second. Excuse me. This is where I feel like Dead or Alive 5 did really, really well, which was they marketed as flashy combos and good mechanics first, and the sex appeal came second. But it didn't take away from it. It was two sides of the same coin, So Dead or Alive 6, I think, just shot themselves in the foot every step of the way there. Dead or Alive 2 through 4, it was like the sex first, the sex first, the gameplay second. Dead or Alive 5 was both. It was kind of both, but they definitely did like a head nod to everybody that was all about the fan service. They were like, hey, just we're making it all about the combos, the mechanics, the hold system, the triangle system, and the competition and the esports. But hey, we're still here for you. Like, that's how I feel. That's why I feel like DOA 5 did so well.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because with DOA 5, initially, when they first announced it, it did kind of seem like they were actually kind of leaning away from fan service, believe it or not. It sounds like they were going away from that. And then eventually,
the I'm a Fighter campaign, definitely. Yeah, the I'm a Fighter campaign was definitely push away from it a little bit.
But the smoke cleared very quickly. It's like, okay, we're back to classic DOA here, right? Like, for example, I think this is one of the first images that was ever released for DOA 5. And I remember Keats saying on the Wake Up Shore Yukon podcast, like, man, finally they're gonna look like real women. We're gonna have like an actual like realistic DOA game. We can finally put those silly DOA games behind us. Now we're playing real DOA. Well, that was all bullshit, but that's fine though, because I like DOA. Like, if you make a DOA game like classic DOA, I'm never gonna have a problem with that.
Right.
Even in DOA 5 among the community, there was some dissatisfaction with some of the DLC costumes used in tournament. But I think that just, again, we probably don't want to bust open that can just yet, but
which ones?
Really, the whole fan service controversy.
Okay.
But I think there were some DOA costumes banned by tournament organizers by DOA players, and I think I think the fan base, I just don't think there's a lot of agreement on what aesthetic DOA should. Even the ones who all want fan service, even if you get them all in the same room, I don't think they all entirely agree on how much fan service there should or should not be. Right. As I told you yesterday, I don't ever want to see Baldur's Gate sex scenes in DOA. I don't want that ever to be a thing. So there's clearly a lot, but we don't agree with the line as always.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, shoot, a DOA 4 Christie's ending was literally like she came out and did a striptease before she killed a guy. But you know, so I mean, I feel like that's very DOA. You also have like the Extreme Vacation like games and everything, but those are kind of its own separate thing. Like I mean, it's Dead or Alive, but it's its own separate thing. But yeah, if you were to get, you know, all 10 people in a room, you're going to see a spectrum of 10 different people who can't agree on where the line is drawn. And this is also where I'd point to Street Fighter V, in that you had particularly Armika, but Armika, Cammy, Chun-Li, and Juri all had. I'm pretty sure those are the 4 that had banned costumes. I know for sure as Armika had some banned costumes. There are things that you could not play in competition, and that brings it also to like Mortal Kombat 9. There was a competitive mode, and so that's where I felt like Dead or Alive 5 actually did a really good job with that, because MK9 and Dead or Alive 5 had a kind of competitive mode, I guess you could say, where you could literally like stop the jiggle. I think you could stop the jiggle physics or something like that. In Mortal Kombat 9, I think it was like the costumes don't get all cut up and there's no blood,
and that was often what everyone went with, just because it made the matches go by faster. I can still do the input to this day for no blood in MK9 just because we all did it.
Yeah,
because no one cares about fatalities after like day 3, and for modern Mortal Kombat, no one cares about fatalities after day 0 because they YouTubed all of them already. So just
you literally jab someone.
Well, the thing I was worried about yesterday about being misinterpreted on was, let me phrase it like this: 2 things could be true. I firmly believe that the whole system, the triangle system, should stay intact and not be disrupted or transformed in a major way. But there's a second thing I also believe that I think is completely compatible with that, which is it is the whole system that is the biggest barrier for entry, that is holding a lot of new players back. I think both those things can be true, and I stand by both of them. My worry yesterday is like, people are going to think I want to get rid of the whole system. And that just isn't the case. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I'd buy a DOA system that doesn't have at least a mostly similar hold system.
There is no, if you were to tell me, hey, we're making Dead or Alive 7 and there's no more hold system and there's no more triangle, I'd be like, that's not Dead or Alive then. Don't call it Dead or Alive. It's something else. It's too ingrained into the entire identity of Dead or Alive's mechanics.
And there's no other way to do that. Well, I mean, the only way I would even remotely be okay with that is if we got all the old games released with rollback. Then I'm like, okay, now we can actually afford to do some experimentation. Because I'll be somewhat honest with you. If they did say, hey, we're going to make the game play exactly like Tekken, only it's going to have all your favorite DOA characters, I could pretend that I wouldn't. I'd be like, to believe they'd do that. But the reality is, I'd be super excited to play that game. I think that if I could do like Tekken combos with Kasumi without having to worry about holds, I would probably have a really good time. But that doesn't mean they should do it. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. I want classic DOA to be available in some capacity. But that's the problem to solve. We got to find out how to get, because in Tekken 7 had this huge resurgence, this massive boost around like 2019. It kind of coincided with the whole Arslan Ash thing. And Tekken just kind of like became the quick number 2 for the FGC. How do we get those same people to now turn their eyes towards DOA and basically wrap their brains around the whole system.
Okay,
that's the problem.
And I've been thinking about this a lot too, is the fact that you're going to have your fans. And I said this in Hoodless's Discord, is that you have to cater towards the 99% of the people that are actually buying the game, which is your casual fans. It's only the 1% that are actually competing or trying to compete in it. But when the dust settles, this is something that MK Tom Brady said like years ago on Rio's podcast, like years and years ago. Say what you want about the guy, but he actually made a really good point, which was that when the dust settles, when everybody stops playing after 6 to 9 months, you're only left with the competitors and the diehard fans. When it comes to these games, you have to you have to think about competing. You have to think about it. You have to think about the competition, because the competition in the tournaments is the things that actually keep the people around. They're the things that it actually keeps the game going and keeps the games alive. The costumes play a huge part and everything, but do you think the costumes would be that much better or would be that like as a viable source of income if the competition didn't stay fresh?
We could try the City of the Wolves route and just put like $1 billion into the prize pool and just see what happens.
Yeah,
but
the other thing,
I mean,
good.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, City of the Wolves had its own problems, right? That had other obstacles to overcome that were completely unique from DOA. But I wouldn't mind trying it, though. I'm just afraid, like, that's going to get a CEO fired if we go that route. That's what I don't want to happen.
What do you mean?
Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves bombed hard, and the CEO basically stepped down after that. And I don't think that helps anybody.
But they kept going. They just didn't care. That's the thing I actually respect about Fatal Fury, is they're continuing to support it, SNK is. But it's like they do not care whether it bombs at if people are playing a combo breaker or CEO. They're just like, whatever, we'll put it at EWC because we own EWC. I mean, that's what happens when you get the Saudi prince to actually like own parts of SNK. But I mean, that's a story in itself, and
potentially parts of Mortal Kombat, but we'll see what happens.
In League of Legends and Capcom and
as long as they don't buy Evo, we're good. As long as they never ever buy Evo, everything's going to be okay.
That was a huge confusion, by the way. They didn't necessarily buy Evo. I think it was something.
I was joking. I thought they bought Evo. I was talking shit.
Oh no, I think they bought like something like I think they bought like the events coordinating company. Is like a third party. I don't know the insides and outs, so comment down below if you know it. But I don't know the answer to that question. What's that?
I will probably never find out what the inside outs are for that. It's above my pay grade, but that is kind of my hope, though, right? Is that we can find a solution. And really, like I am not a DOA veteran. I bought all the games because I love the games, but I was never good at them. Let me just preface this with, when DOA 5 came out, I got it on day one. Amazon shipped it to my door. I was living with 3 roommates. It was great. None of them gave a shit about DOA, so I was playing DOA 5 by myself. In my room, paying $350 a month, because I lived with like a bunch of other, roommates.
Right.
And all my friends on the internet, they were playing Mortal Kombat 9, and I was too. So I didn't really have anyone to play with. So I never really got good at these games. So since DOA 6 dropped, I've probably played like 150 competitive matches in the game. I am not the expert. What I would love to see is watch all like the real hardcore dyed-in-the-wool DOA veterans kind of just get into like a podcast and just talk about like, how are we going to bring people into this game? And maybe that's happened. I haven't seen it, but I would love to see a podcast with like Emery Reigns, Excalibur Blades, Perfect Legend, Master, get them all in one room and like, okay, how do we get people to play DOA? And the reason, if that maybe it has happened, but if it hasn't happened yet, I imagine the reason is because it's a lost cause without rollback netcode. Like, you're not going to grow anything without rollback netcode. So that's obviously the first thing we have to solve. So if we could get a re-release with rollback, it almost doesn't even matter which game. I would love to have all of them like released with rollback. But if we can just get like DOA 2 Ultimate, if we can get that with rollback, that would be such a start. And I don't think that would be that expensive. I could be wrong about that. But that would be such a beginning.
I would do DOA 2. It's probably, if anything, it would probably be DOA 6 if they did anything at all. I mean, it would be really cool if they did DOA 5 because that's the more popular one and that's the one that people talked the not so bad about in comparison to 6. But I can't think of anybody who would talk poorly about DOA 5. I mean,
I will add real quick there though that I think Keats once said, this is regards to Virtual Fighter, when it didn't have like rollback at the time on its when it was released as a free game. I think Keith said like the more intensive the assets, the harder it is to add rollback.
Oh, okay.
So it might just be easier to add it to DOA 2 for now. I prefer DOA 2. I personally have a soft spot for that game, but it almost doesn't matter. Just if you can do it cheaply, just pick your favorite that's not DOA 1, and then we can start growing a community.
Right.
But, yeah. I'm sorry though. Go on.
No, I was going to say the two things that I would say are like that I would argue on the sentiment of that. How can we get more people to play? That's a tough question. I'm not going to lie, because I mean, here comes Fatal Fury. Like out of the gate, we're gonna put like $2 million prize pools into it, and it's gonna. But here's the thing: Fatal Fury was an amazing looking game. It plays amazing. It's one of my favorite 2D fighters. Like right now, it's one of my favorite 2D fighters, and not as many people are playing it. And so there's what's going on there. Why did it not succeed in the way that I thought it would? And you had people like Goichi playing it too. That's the best part. Dude, Goichi's killing it. And I thought all the King of Fighters players were going to, kind of cross over as well, which a lot of them did. But I'm focusing too much on that. It kind of comes back to what we said. The two things that I see, and I don't even know that this is even the answer to it, is that one, you have to make the hold and the triangle system understandable. You have to really emphasize how important the hold system is, how important the triangle system is, and you have to see it from you need to see like Hoodless showing all these, everybody like why you do holds, what I think when I do holds. By the way, he has an amazing Discord, and if you go there, he's very active. So if you really want to get into DOA 6 and 5, he's there. He's very susceptible to listening to what you have to, to any of your questions, as well as the other community members. I think it comes down to to developers as well, is that to emphasize how important the hold system is, emphasize how important the triangle system is, and continue to support the game. And that's what I would argue, is that they stopped supporting DOA 6 1 year, just one whole year. They marketed it as this big esports and didn't do any esports things at all.
It was 1 year after an especially bad launch as well. So you had the bad launch and the singular year of support. So
well, here's the thing: Street Fighter 5 failed so poorly in 2000. Was it 2015?
Yes, because Mortal Kombat X was 2014, so it was 1 year after MKX. So yes, it was 2015.
So 2015, it failed horribly, dude. It was not complete, no story mode. I don't think it had matchmaking, or they had no support.
Well, it did have private match. I remember that there was private match in there. But I mean, I'm a weirdo. I loved launch Street Fighter 5, even with the input lag. I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, but
I was like, finally, I don't have to play
MKX
anymore.
You are aware people did not like it, at all.
Oh yeah, no, and understandably so. Mm-hmm. But I was playing through survival mode, unlocking colors, just having a blast, man. I was having a great time.
2015 fighting games,
but I get it.
Such
I absolutely
a different
get it.
Time. So yeah.
Well, that's why I love the game so much. I don't have to play Mortal Kombat X anymore. MKX is now uninstalled, and I can play do Standing Fierce with Chun-Li again. I was having such a good time. But I absolutely understand why people don't like that game on launch. And
you don't like Mortal Kombat X? Hold on, back up. You don't like Mortal Kombat X?
Oh man, no. I guess the long answer is it's grown on me over the years. I've been a little bit more forgiving of its problems. And seeing where the meta has gone, I think has done wonders for the game. And it's funny because the best version of some characters are in MKX. Like my favorite version of Reptile, gameplay-wise, not visually, but gameplay-wise, Nimble is the coolest Reptile it's ever been.
I hate Back 2. That's the one thing I hate, though. Reptile's Back 2 is garbage. Yeah, Reptile's Back 2. I hate it.
Well, in the corner, you might be surprised. But he's one of the few characters who can actually stagger. He actually has a decent stagger string, which was not the norm because of all the delay and all the frame duration in MKX. But yeah, so DOA 6, just a bad launch in general. I don't think there were lobbies on launch. It's been a long time. But yeah, and then there was all the controversy around selling hair. I don't exactly remember how that went down either, but
it was like $1. It was $1 to buy the hair to change the hair color, and once you changed it, you couldn't change it back. It was like, I'm going to change my hair from brown to blue, and then stuck on blue, and you had to pay another $1 to change it to a different color from there.
And I think the color as time went on, like you'd see the roots of the original color, I think, and you have to pay for a
as if it
haircut. I don't
actually
remember how it
grew.
worked.
Like,
I think I remember something like that. It's been
like,
a little
oh
while.
shoot, I need to make an appointment with my stylist. Okay.
Well, for me, all the costumes I liked were already
Yeah.
in the game,
Yeah.
so I didn't buy any DLC for 6. I already like, oh, there's classic Kasumi. Oh, there's classic Ayane.
And that's great. That's great that they did that. But like, I even bought I mean,
Well, if you can unlock them, not everyone was able to unlock them easily. They had to
Yeah.
patch it so it was more easy to unlock stuff. But I had a good time. I had a great time.
I still have a great time with DOA 6. I mean, I bought Ayane's her witch costume, which I thought was really, really well done. I really like that one. Kasumi Ayane's a pirate costume. Like they actually had some really good DLC.
And I still have really good memories of playing the DOA 6 beta before the game came out. And this is right before MK11 dropped. Which,
See, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you go back before patch 1.5 when there was 2 meters instead of 4. So there's 2. Okay, they had the meter and they were going to introduce the meter. And I understand why they introduced the meter. I feel like the meter could have worked if it worked with the triangle system and, worked with the hold system instead of kind of replacing it. And before patch 1.5, I believe it's 1.5 if I recall correctly, is it used to be 2 bars a meter and not 4. That actually was fine, but they kept every patch they kept getting worse, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse until they just stopped supporting it altogether.
Yeah, and I think the game was a lot more fun when people weren't engaging in the meter mechanics as much, and as the meta developed, I think the game got a little more not amazing. Because when I was playing the beta, I wasn't engaging in that stuff. I was playing footsies with down forward K. I wasn't really worried. I didn't remember how to play DOA. I was just trying to play like my own version of Tekken in DOA because I didn't know how anything worked yet.
I think what's really funny is if I ever go from Tekken or Virtua Fighter to DOA, I have to tell myself like press down and hold, don't double tap down, like stuff like that to move. Or if I want to back up, I'll press like down back, to back up instead of like double tapping back or doing Korean backdash.
That's one reason why I don't play DOA very often is because every time everyone's like, hey, do you want to play DOA temp? And I'm just like, yeah, I guess. And I boot it up and I don't remember anything. I don't have any memory of how Kasumi works at all. I have to basically relearn the game every single time I play it.
Oh, I remember that. I think actually the last time we played it against each other, you're just like, who are you going to play as? And I was like, I don't know, and please tell me who you're gonna play as. I was like, yeah,
this is serious. I need to know.
I need to know, and I was like, fine, I'll play Ayane. She's my main. I'll play Ayane. And you're like, okay, good. I'm gonna play Kasumi. Hold on, give me 3 days. You're literally like, give me 3 days to play.
Yeah, just give me 72 hours. And I'll be ready to play set.
I was like, I feel like this isn't fair, dude. Like. Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Every time, I relearned DOA.
Yeah.
I remember that after 66P, Kasumi can teleport. I'm like, oh shit! It's just like I was like, yeah, oh yeah, that is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all gone. It's just all that's so many beers ago. Well, like with Tekken, I've been playing Lars for 7 years. So that just will never. Well, Lars changed a lot in Tekken 8. Maybe Asuka might be a better example. I'm never going to forget how to play Asuka because, well, first I can smash back 3 and win for one thing, but another thing is that it's Asuka. I've been playing her for so long.
Yeah.
Kasumi, I just don't have that same base knowledge, So it's just
well, I mean, like
I struggle to remember everything in DOA whenever I play it.
DOA was really strange because going from DOA 4 to 5 to 6 was like going from 4 to 5 is just the combo structure in 5 was a lot more competitive. I can say is more geared towards the competitors, but going from 5 to 6, it's like if I play Ayane. Like I gotta remember when combos end or when how or how to extend combos because it's a lot different in DOA 5 to DOA 6 even though there are legacy moves.
Believe it or not, even though Kasumi's my main, I mostly spent time playing Ayane in DOA 6. Just because I had a buddy who was an Ayane main back in 2003, 2004, and he passed away. So I was like,
Dead or Alive 3.
Yeah. Oh, I think. Yeah, it was DOA 3. Yeah, I went to his house to play DOA 3. So, yeah, just as like a tribute to him since he's passed on. I was like, oh, this one Ayane. And I ended up loving that character. She's not my main, but I think she's so fun.
She's my main for sure. She's not my original main. In fact, the way I got it, so we didn't talk about the we did kind of yesterday, but our kind of history behind Dead or Alive, which was my first Dead or Alive was Dead or Alive 4 back in 2005. And I was playing, a lot of Mortal Kombat, but similar to you, I was like the only fighting game player. Like we were all playing Halo 2. That's all we played was Halo 2, me and my friends, from like 2004 till like 2007. That's the only game we played. And I was the one who was like, I really played a lot of Mortal Kombat, and then a friend of mine introduced me to Soul Calibur 2, and I was not at that time I was not the biggest Soul Calibur fan. I was just playing a lot of Mortal Kombat, but I was really I remember I got super into Muay Thai, and like the movie The Protector was like my favorite movie, and I couldn't stop watching it. And so I was looking for games that had Muay Thai in it, like actual Muay Thai. And the two I came across was Tekken with Bruce, and DOA with Zach. And so Zach was actually my first pick. And then I was playing Dead or Alive at this game lounge that we had in the small town from Northern California that I'm from. And we'd all be playing Halo, and then my friend took a break and I played Dead or Alive. And then one of the guys at the lounge that we used to play Halo with, he was actually like, "Oh dude, I love DOA." And we started playing, and he had all these Ione combos, dude. He was like everything too. He was doing like back turn. He was showing me all these different things. And he's like, "Oh, I've gone to a couple of competitions in Dead or Alive. Let me show you a couple of things." He was actually the one like, "Oh, you need to hold here. This is how you hold." No, like he showed me the 4-way hold system and everything. And that's what opened my eyes to a lot more like Dead or Alive. And from then on out, that's how I kept playing Dead or Alive.
Man, I wish I had something like that. I basically never really truly learned the game because, again, I bought it and I played it for a few months, and then I moved on to like the next fighter that came out, right? I want to say that's what happened with I bought DOA 2 and I loved it, but I was playing it by myself, so I couldn't really find anyone to kind of show me the ropes. And I don't think the amount of people who even knew, quote, the ropes was not a large group of people to begin with. Yeah. There was no real internet back then.
And Dead or Alive 4 actually did have internet. That was a cool thing. That's one thing I liked about Dead or Alive 4. I could actually play against people online. Yeah, the connection wasn't that great, but I could still do it.
Yeah, I think with DOA 4, that's the game I bought with my Xbox 360 when I bought one. But I was living again in a different house with like 4 other dudes. And we were all playing Brawl, believe it or not. That was a Brawl household. So I would dabble in DOA 4, and I was having a good time. But for competitive sets, believe it or not, the game was smash. And even back in the 1999, like the reason why I stopped playing DOA 2 was because Marvel vs. Capcom 1 came out, and I was an MVC 1 player in the arcades. Like I love DOA, but I was actually like I could actually like win in Marvel. Like that was my game, and that was such a big deal when that dropped. Right. So after that, there really wasn't a reason.
It's funny how success. It's funny how success drives you to enjoy the games that you like. Because I always say this because this is how I explain it to my wife. I'm like, she's like, it doesn't even look like you're having fun. I'm like, it's not about fun. It's about satisfaction. It's about joy. I get joy, not fun, joy from winning. That's what I want to do is I want to win, and I get joy from winning. And so I enjoyed back in that's how I was with Mortal Kombat was I was the best Mortal Kombat player of my friends, and that's why I really liked it. And for Dead or Alive, it was like I was thoroughly enjoying Dead or Alive, and I was learning it. That was one of the first games I actually was like, okay, I'm getting joy from learning more combos and learning more mechanics and actually doing things. And taking it online was awesome because you can actually implement the things that you learned. So it's the joy and satisfaction of winning. That's what it means to me to play fighting games.
It's just like would you lift weights if you didn't get stronger or you didn't build muscle? Like the winning, it's not even because yes, I do play to win, but the win is my evidence of getting better as well. Yeah. So if I'm grinding training mode and I'm grinding setups and I'm losing all the time, it's just like, okay, well, even if I am getting better, I have no evidence of it. Which is why I always tell people, like, I really only want to play fighting games with you if there's a chance of a run back. If there's no run back, I reset like a tournament match, I'm really not interested. Right. Otherwise, I would just play ranked. Like
Right.
that's kind of like the same thing to me. So
That's in jiu-jitsu we have a saying called there's no losing in jiu-jitsu, there's only winning and learning. Something you actually this is a little bit more sentimental, guys, so prepare to cry. I have had a history of anger issues, and Temp helped me out with a gaming because I would get super mad and everything, and I'd actually be salty and leave. And Temp was like, I take every game as a gift to learn something new, or something like that. You told me that, and it kind of stuck with me. And after that, like I haven't had any issues.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to look at it. That's one of the many ways I look at it. Yeah, that's why I don't teabag. It's because
I hate it so much.
Yeah, it's just I can't get in the headspace of someone who would do that, because the fact that we're playing means two people are engaging in something they both love. Right. And that didn't have to happen. We're lucky we live in a world where something like that is even like that. This game was even made to begin with. So that's sacred to me. And I think people do trolling shit. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I get teabag. I get trash talk. I get it. I just don't do it. That's not who I am at all. I get punk. Okay, I get why he trash talks, and he does it super well, and he tries to get inside your head. He's, that's the same that Conor McGregor does in the UFC. He would like trash talk and try to get in your head, and everything. And then there's people like Big Bird and Mena RD. I like that one. And one of my favorites is the recent Evo. I think it was Evo France, where Arslan won. And he was playing against Knee. Yeah, I think it was Arslan versus Knee, and Arslan won, and he was stoked that he won. And Knee, like he jumped up too, and Arslan turned around and looked at him, and they gave each other like a big hug. See, that's kind of what I was really into. The one thing I didn't like about competitive Mortal Kombat, early competitive Mortal Kombat, was the amount of trash talk. I didn't like it at all, and I'll admit it gets in my head, and that's one of the reasons why I probably could never be a competitive, like an actual professional competitive player. Not that I'm good enough to do that anyway, but I'm just saying that's one of the reasons why I could never be that way. Because when people start teabagging and trash talking, I'm just like, oh, F this guy, dude. No, I'll rematch, and I'll play worse because of that. So.
Yeah, I mean that's one reason why I love playing with friends, is because that I feel like after the match is over, the match is kind of immortalized because you can always talk about the match later. And like I have videos of every set I've played since like 2019. Might have been John Ding, but to be honest with you, dude, I can't remember anymore.
It was one of those two.
I think John Ding got third, so it might not have been him. I don't remember anymore.
It was one of those two. Either way, it was actually it was John Ding. You want to know why? Because it was the guy who's been lifting weights. That's how I remember it.
I mean, that does sound like John Ding.
Yeah. Knee is a little bit older, but he's definitely not getting into the whole like lifting. Like he hasn't been getting into the lifting weights. And I remember he popped up and gave each other a big hug, and you could see like his biceps. And I was like, yep, that's and he's been posting a lot of stuff about working out, which is really cool. And that's one thing I love about fighting games now, especially like Big Bird, Angry Bird, John Ding, Arslan got kicked out. Not kicked out. He couldn't compete in a game because he tested positive for steroids.
Just to quote Eris on that. Eris said that Arslan is the smallest guy on steroids, and I've never stopped laughing since. It's good.
That's hilarious, dude. But I like that fighting games are getting more into the stereotypical nerd that's actually playing fight in gaming in general. But because I never fit the mold, I'm 6'3" and I snowboard a lot, and I train jiu-jitsu. By the way, that's where the name Shred came from, was snowboarding. But I train jiu-jitsu and do all that, so I don't fit the mold of a gamer. But
yeah, I do a lot, so I've had to live with that. But
you've cut your hair since. Did you used to have like super long like black hair?
Oh yeah, very well. Actually, the opposite. I had long blonde hair. I'm Swedish by blood, so I have like natural like blonde streaks in my hair. Yeah. I also have very oily skin, so my hair is always like super nice. It's always just like a shampoo commercial. Like I've always had very nice, sexy hair,
like Fabio.
But I can't do that anymore because like I was in shape back then. Like. If you're in shape, you can look like Fabio. If you're not in shape and you have long hair, you look like you own a comic book store. And I didn't want to go for that look anymore. So
yeah. And by the way, before anybody asks, Temp is a very private person, and out of respect, for him also, he does not like to show his face. He will not ever show his face. So you kind of get this image here. instead. But
that's one of the best decisions I ever made as well, because when I wanted to keep my internet life, my personal life kind of like demarcated, I didn't realize that AI was on the way and was going to be able to create deepfakes of everything we've ever thought of ever.
Yeah.
So like, as for my voice, it's too late. Like, people could probably make me say anything ever because there's so much content of me talking.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is. Like, Robot Temp is coming, but at least he'll only be a voice when he does. And that's what's important to me.
Yeah, there's a big reason why my kids and my wife are never going to be shown. I actually had a coworker say, dude, like, you should play Fortnite with your, show, like, make videos of you and your kids playing Fortnite together. Because me and my kids, we'll play Fortnite together, and we actually get we get wins. And my daughter, who's 6, she walks one time me and my wife were just hanging out in the bedroom, and my daughter runs into the room, mom, dad, I got a win in Fortnite. And I'm like, okay, 5-year-old, that's dope, And so I actually had a coworker. He's like, why don't you make content with your kids? People eat that up. I'm like, because it's the internet, because AI exists. There's no way. I'm protecting my kids at any cost. So that's not
no one has any idea what the next decade is going to look like. Like, in 9 years, I have no idea what kind of conversations we're going to be having. I almost don't want to know, but I do know that Robot Temp is inevitable, and I'm just going to have to live with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So I guess just to kind of recap my solutions, I don't even know if I really stated this clearly before, but I think one possible solution is to keep the hold system exactly the same and make everything around it the most badass thing you've ever seen.
Okay.
Better graphics, better cinematics around the hold, just better environments, make everything like 11 out of 10. That's one solution, but it's a very expensive one, and I don't know how they're going to do that, honestly, for a game.
It's going to be hard because Street Fighter 6 did a really good job at making learning how to do like quarter circle motions really fun, and they put like little games in there and like things you can win, like points and stuff like that for doing it, and you can earn prizes and whatever for doing that. So I think they did a pretty good job with that. Not that I think that anybody would actually, yeah, I think a lot of people would do that. It's just you got to make learning the primary. If the triangle in the hold system is the basis of this game, and it's a difficult basis, you need to make it to where you need to emphasize, hey, you need to learn this, and we're going to make it fun for you to learn.
Yeah, I think the incentive system could work great for holds, as long as it's organic. I mean, I think there's a ceiling on how much you can incentivize with like bonus content.
Right.
So content incentives, I think, will run out quick. Like, you can only give out, like, let's say every time you do a successful hold in a ranked match, the game gives you like a costume and an Arby's coupon. Well, that's cool, but like, they're going to run out of that for a while. Like, after a while, like, if it's just like a
how'd you get the every time it's like, how'd you get the nurse outfit? Oh, I did 20 holds in one game.
Yeah. So, that could be, that could backfire if they're not careful, or at the very least, it can run out of steam. I think a better incentive would
think they did it with Mortal Kombat X, and it worked pretty well. Like, you had to do so many things to get, all the, like, there are certain costumes that were held behind, if I remember this correctly, for like one of Katana's outfits, you had to give a 50 times in King of the Hill.
Well, I think it worked for many cases, but there were some obscure costumes. Like, to this day, Razor does not have a certain Cage costume because I think he had to win like 5 matches in a row in a King of the Hill. So he just kind of gave up and said, you know what, it's not even worth it. I don't even like the costume. So I think it did work, but I think there was some resentment around it as well, especially for the people who don't really want to engage in the online side of things.
I did want to say that because we're talking about how we can fix it. And there's 2 more things I wanted to point out too. Is one, I always say this, is if you want to pull people in, you need to be able to do the characters look great and do cool things. That's what I always say, is like, okay, you need to do cool things with cool looking characters. We kind of talked about it in the last take, and the first take was the fact that it's like, you said the hold system animations could be a little bit better, and that would incentivize people to actually like do them a lot more.
Which is tough because they're already so good for the most part. Right, so that's a challenge. That's a big challenge.
It is a big challenge, but it's like for the most part, the hold systems, because the hold system in itself, if you don't have like a shift in momentum, that would make it even worse if the hold system was based off of momentum rather than an actual like impact, because you do a hold. There are a few characters that have holds to where they actually stun you. I believe. I think Jan Lee particularly has one. With a hold system, it's like, okay, you need to make it flashy, but you need to make it worthwhile. But yeah, it's like you need to do cool things with cool looking characters. It needs to be satisfying, but the cool things, like the high damage things and the cool looking things, need to be challenging enough to where they don't get stale. Because when you do that, when it's super easy to do the cool thing, everyone's like, oh cool, I've done this like 500,000 times. It doesn't even look that cool anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of why the hold animations never really get old for me, because I can barely do them. Like every time I do a hold, it feels like a small miracle. I was like, I cannot believe I pulled that off. So
it takes a while to get used to. It does. It takes a very long time to get used to.
And it's hard to find people to play to even invest a long time into DOA, now, right?
Yeah.
So, at least to find someone who's not going to murder me, right? Like, I don't think there's any point in playing someone who's been good at multiple DOA games. It's like, you know what, I'm going to play my buddies just because I don't want to die.
And this is the other big thing about it too, is the fact that there's no casual matchmaking and there's no there's no even rematching. This is one thing I really like about Tekken and Street Fighter, or almost every fighting game out there nowadays, is the fact that you can do casual matchmaking and you can rematch like infinite times. And that's awesome. You know, why Dead or Alive 5 and 6 did not do that is beyond me, you know, but especially
that's a lesson we're still learning too. There's still games that struggle with that, you know. Even though Marvel has infinite rematch, it's not quick match. So you have to go through the whole, and Marvel too, the select screen just sucks. I hate going through it every time. I'm just smashing, because at least it saves your characters. But yeah, I think another problem with DOA is if you're going to pull from the Tekken community, those guys, and this is a problem for me especially, they know what it's like to be competent at a fighting game. Like, I know how it feels to be competent at like I've won MK9 tournaments. So to go back to the beginning with DOA, that's tough for me psychologically. It's I know what it feels like to be good at a fighting game. So when I'm bad at one, it sucks, dude.
Yeah.
I can't even to begin to explain what it's like to watch someone talk shit on testyourmight.com and then finally meet them in person and body them in grand finals. I can't even begin to explain how great that felt.
You've done
that? Yeah. Del Toro on Test Your Might. He started with Katana and he counterpicked a Sonya, who's broken, by the way. And I beat him with smoke. In winners. Nice. I'll never forget that. Nice. I'll be on the grave telling my great grandkids, like, and then he counterpicked Sonya.
Sit down, kids. Let me tell you about the time that I bodied Del Toro.
Dude, I almost beat Phil Pops 2, the best noob player in Chicago at EVO 2012, but I didn't know Smoke could parry the noob clones. Because Nightwolf can't. If you reflect a Nightwolf, if you reflect a noob clone with Nightwolf, it just runs into the background. So I assumed Smoke couldn't shake any of those clones either. And we got to the final round of the... this is a bad memory. We need to talk about something else. But, so that's tough for me in going to DOA and not being able to wrap my head around holding the opponents. Because even just, like, visually trying to discern between a high punch and a mid punch is not always the easiest thing. I mean, obviously, if you see two highs, there's probably a mid punch coming if they're doing the full string. Right. But, like, building that into your muscle memory, it takes time. And I think, don't change the hold system, but they have to do something to meet the players in the middle, because it is psychologically a battle for these guys, and myself included.
Yeah. And the other thing I did want to mention, because I said there was two things I wanted to talk about, was or mention about keeping players in, was do cool things with cool looking characters and make it satisfying and challenging, or the high damage combos. The other thing was unlocking. This is where I think Marvel Rivals. Now, I don't know how I would implement this in a fighting game, but Marvel Rivals is one of my favorite games like ever created. I love this game. It's so much fun, and people talk crap about it all the time. I don't care. It's an amazing game. But one of the funnest things about it is the rewards get so much healing done, and then you get this many points and or this many coins, and there's actually like, I can kind of imagine doing the same thing with Dead or Alive. For this week you have to execute 50 holds or something like that. That's probably like a low amount, but for a casual that would be a lot. Get 150, you get 100 wins this week, and you get so many points, and you use those points to unlock different costumes. You can do something like that. But the fact that you have like a goal in mind is one of my favorite things about Marvel Rivals, is the fact that you do have to, it incentivizes you to play every different role, whether you're doing heal, tank, or damage, and you have to like fulfill a certain amount of that to get the amount of points. And they have seasons, but they also have like little seasons within seasons, like a little events too. So you just play games and you get points and you can unlock these costumes, and those little seasons are only like $5, $10 maybe. I think there's ways to make satisfying unlocks and keep people engaged, longer. That's something that I would have loved to incentivize. I mean, shoot, if you want to do DLC packs in Dead or Alive 6, that should have been the way you do it.
You made me think of something, actually. And I don't know how I feel about this. I am not endorsing this idea. Okay. I am throwing this out into the world, and I'll let the world see, and we'll see what the world does with it, right? How would you feel about a variation system in Dead or Alive where the hold system, there's 3 different hold systems, and one's more offensive oriented, and one's, I had a feeling. I'm looking at your face right now. I don't know, just throwing that out there. How would you feel about that?
No, it's just, you get rid of the hold system, you get rid of the game. Once the hold,
you still have the hold system. You have 3 hold systems.
Once you tamper with the hold system, you get rid of the game. So that's why I feel like the meter system was a good idea on paper, because it didn't mess with the whole at first. It didn't mess with the hold system. It didn't mess with the triangle system. If they would have used meter or some sort of way to emphasize the hold system, like maybe, okay, you execute a hold and then you tap like forward punch kick and use 1 bar of meter, and it makes it stronger, or do something like that. I mean, that would have worked out a lot better. But once you tamper with the hold system as it is, it doesn't work for Dead or Alive.
It's just we talked about how the hold system was the big barrier for a lot of new players, and I think like specifically if we kind of unravel that a bit, it's difficult for a new player to have their success in a mechanic depend or be contingent on their opponent's decision making. I think that's where people are struggling. I think that's why a lot of people struggle with Third Strike, right? So I guess make a tutorial mode that doesn't read like radio instructions, that people are actually going to organically remember what they learned, because that's a big problem in not just like 3D fighting games, not just DOA, but like Arc Sys is a big problem with that.
Right.
You do a Blaze Blue training mode, and you're not going to remember half that shit. But
right.
if I'm being honest, that covers. Yeah.
No, I was going to say like a lot of fighting games like Guilty Gears. You've talked about this a lot too. Is the fact that their tutorial system is literally just text dialogue of just all these different things, and it's like no, dude, I skip that, forget that. I don't want to hear. I just go to YouTube, YouTube Academy, and get my basic combos and basic starters out there.
Yeah, that's basically how I learn everything these days is YouTube tutorials, especially with Tekken. But
yeah,
and you really like something too. I mentioned yesterday is the fact that like even Justin Wong, hey, what's the first thing when you're a new player, what's some advice you would give to a new player? Learn combos. Which was weird. You said was weird coming from Justin Wong, but Justin Wong did say, he goes, learn at least 2 or 3 solid combos to get you off the ground.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to say that, but I'm so glad he did, because there's like I said yesterday, there's a lot of people who are like, don't worry about combos, learn neutral, which is dumb, because it's like, don't learn the thing you can learn in 30 minutes. Learn the thing that takes hundreds of matches. And no, you want to learn things in order of like easiest to hardest. I think that makes the most sense. Like if someone was just learning Street Fighter for the first time, I would say learn how to anti-air and learn how to hit confirm. Those are the first 2 things you want to learn. If like after that, then we can kind of get into like how to do a frame trap with drive rush and whatnot. Right. But first, you need to learn how to stop your opponent from jumping, and you need to learn how to safely confirm into damage. Those are the 2 things everyone should learn first, in my opinion.
Yeah, what I would say too, and I mean, what's with my camera? It's like doing that auto thing, because it auto focuses. It's neat, but yeah. By the way, I'm not one of the, if you're looking at the background right now, my Christmas tree is up, and I know it's like mid-November and everything. Just to let you guys know, I'm not one of those Christmas
Hallmark dads that totally turns into like a Christmas,
as you drink out the Christmas mug.
Yeah, and I don't do that, and things. So no, I'm not one of those Christmas Hallmark dads. But I like I said, I think it goes. If I was to give anybody advice on when you're learning Dead or Alive, as a casual player, you just learn combos, just learn all the combos, go through the story mode, go through the arcades, and just have fun playing combos. But I'm such a kinetic learner. I spend a lot of time in the lab, like learning the combos and going through holds, but I would rather play 500 matches of casual or in lobbies, learning holds that way. And like I would practice holds in the lab and then trying to implement, but I would spend way more time, so much more time in casual or lobbies trying to work on holds than I would in a lab. And so for me, it's like, okay, the first thing you want to learn is your combos. The second thing you want to learn is holds. And then after that, you want to make sure that you understand the triangle system, because I think those are your three basic principles of it. Because once you start getting like really into it, then you start getting into the knowledge check. Okay, what's Jan Lee going to do on the story today? Okay, what's the basic Ione's basic opener? Okay, her back is turned. What's the most basic thing that she's going to do? It starts getting into the mind games, and you have to understand the triangle system. Okay, through a hold. Okay, now I throw. It's like, oh, I'm going to bait a hold. I'm going to bait a throw. I'm going to bait the once you start getting into it, but it's like it's stepping stones. It's building blocks to build you up that way. So it's like start with the cool looking thing by the cool looking character, then learn the holds and get used to the holds, like have fun building yourself up into it. It's fighting games are a journey. It's not just one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm going to teach you beat a pro on day one. Let's start learning anti-airs. I know it's not Dead or Alive, but I'm just saying,
No, I mean, you're absolutely right though. I mean, and also there's some things you really can't learn until you have a sufficient frame of reference, and you don't get that by playing hundreds of matches. So if you're going to play hundreds of matches, I don't know, maybe learn a combo. That just makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think, just to recap, my solutions are make the game awesome in the most expensive way possible around the hold system.
Right.
Or incentivize the player to learn holds and to practice them in a live match. And I don't really know how you do that, but I think those are the only avenues. I don't think there's anywhere else to go other than that, down that path. I don't see another road. Yeah, I think like I said yesterday in the podcast that is hopefully buried for all eternity, I think the reasons why DOA has hell yeah. I love it. I think the reasons why DOA has not exploded in recent years is just very obvious. No rollback, very difficult. It's very difficult to reach intermediate level, and there's just no easy way to play the game right now. And some of those are easy fixes, expensive, but at least they know how to do it.
Right.
Getting people to use the hold system, I don't know the answer, but we have to find one. It's imperative that we find one.
Yeah. We did want to make it kind of a 1 hour recording, but before that, Temp, you did want to talk about Itagaki. So,
well, I think to me the saddest part about Itagaki not being around right now is if DOA does explode and becomes as big as Tekken, he's not going to get to see it. Well, I mean, at least not from Earth. Hopefully he's up there in the clouds, man, smiling through his sunglasses. But yeah, it's sad that he's not gonna, he's not gonna be around to really be at the party celebrating DOA. That makes me really sad, dude.
Knowing him,
I think
not that I ever met him. I never met the guy, but based off of all the interviews that I've watched of him, that's kind of how I can imagine him just being like, yeah, I built that. Well,
yeah. I mean, 100%. And I know a lot of people are not very happy with Harada right now, but I still really like Harada. And I think Harada reached a point where he got the due credit for what Tekken became. And I don't think Itagaki ever got that credit. Not at least not sufficiently. And I think that's really sad. I think he made something really cool. And when DOA was at its prime, most people, I mean, probably because of Ninja Gaiden more than anything, some people knew Itagaki as a name, as a dev, but most people didn't, at least not on the DOA side that I know of.
I can tell you that Itagaki, I think, was the first like Rockstar like developer. He was the first. I knew who Ed Boon was. I knew who John Tobias was. I knew who Harada was. I knew who Ono, right? I think I'm saying that right.
Yep, Ono.
Yeah, Ono.
I don't know his last name to this day, but I do know Ono.
I only know him as Ono. That's the Street Fighter creator. Like I knew who they were, but Itagaki was just like he was the man, dude. He was up there. It's like he was just in every interview you watch him, dude. Like he's very professional. I'll give him that. He was very professional, but he would light a cigarette and not care. They would ask him, oh, how do you come up with these designs? I think one of his answers literally was, I just thought about it, like I just think like I just did it. And or when he talked about like Ninja Gaiden, he was just the devs thought it was too hard, so I made it harder.
I love that. I saw that in the Discord. I was like, that is such a great quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, even most of what I know about him is through Harada. I definitely was unaware of the guy back when I was playing DOA 2 back in the day. But yeah, but nonetheless, we still gotta cross our fingers for DOA as a franchise, because the game is too good to lose. I don't want DOA to die, man. I'm confident Soul Calibur will get its spotlight once again. I'm not as confident on DOA, but I think my money is on the fact that DOA will return. And it's just going to be on us to make it work, man. We just got to really push it as hard as we can.
I think it's going to return. I genuinely do. And that's just not saying, so this isn't, I'm not just saying this as a biased fan. I'm saying this that I genuinely think it's going to come back. Probably going to be sometime after Neo 3 with Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden actually, it did moderately well. I mean, here's the thing about critics now these days, or not even critics, but just fans nowadays, is if it doesn't hyper succeed, it fails. There is a middle there. And that's where I think Ninja Gaiden fell on. It was like it achieved moderate success. And with all the remasters, it's been doing pretty fairly well. And so I would like to see Dead or Alive, and I believe that Dead or Alive 7 is definitely, I believe 100% it's going to come back. And I think they're I would imagine that they're waiting on Virtua Fighter 6 to see if that works. And by the way, I think Sega owes us some guest characters. I definitely think Sega owes us at least 4 guest characters in Virtua Fighter 6. So
I mean, you might be right, but for the Virtua Fighter side, if they are looking at Virtua Fighter to see what happens, I hope that's not true, dude, because I do not have the same faith as everyone else does in Virtua Fighter 6. I am very worried about that game.
Do you think that the fighting game community is kind of starved for another 3D fighter? Or do you think Tekken is like the one all be all that is going to be popular in its streamlined fighting game community? I'm not talking about like the sub communities, because I mean, because DOA and Virtua Fighter is pretty niche. We got to be honest with that one. But I think that do you think that people are going to look at Virtua Fighter and be like, oh, finally we got another 3D fighter. Okay, let's do it. Let's bring this up.
Man, here's the issue, dude. Like, I would love for Virtua Fighter 6 to be successful, but the reality is that it doesn't cost anything to say you like Virtua Fighter. There's no expense attached to saying I'm a Virtua Fighter fan. But the reality is, when I look at our Discord and I see people talk about Virtua Fighter, they're not talking about characters, they're not talking about lore, they're not talking about their favorite setups, they're not talking about like what they want to come back, they're not talking about like what character changes they want to see, they don't talk about what character changes they don't want it, like they don't. There's no real substance to the conversation. The whole conversation is, it'd be cool if Virtua Fighter came back. So I am not convinced, based off what I've seen, that Virtua Fighter 6 is going to hit the ground running unless they do something awesome that's going to attract non-Virtua Fighter fans. Now, I'm not even saying they should do that. I want Virtua Fighter to be a game that Virtua Fighter fans love. That I think that should be the first and foremost goal. But I'm just being honest, man. I don't think the passion for Virtua Fighter is real. At least in our local Discord.
I feel like Fatal Fury is facing the same fate. It's like I think they thought it was going to be a lot more popular than it was going to be, when people were kind of like, we didn't ask for another Fatal Fury.
Yeah, and I said that when they announced it. I saw a lot of hype, and I was like, I know KOF, like I play KOF, but like that's kind of where my SNK knowledge stops. So I did not know Garo was even a Fatal Fury game. It's a name really? I had heard.
Yeah.
But that's about it. And so I'm thinking like, okay, cool. This is not the route I would have gone, but if people are happy, then I'm happy. It turns out there were no people. The game sold like 4,000, 6,000 copies on Steam, right? Like,
which one? Fatal Fury?
Maybe double that. City of the Wolves.
It sold way more than that on Steam.
Well, you gotta like basically it's an exponent. You gotta put in the right exponent for the amount of peak players. I don't know how to do that exactly, but it wasn't 100,000
There's like
copies.
There's Steam
it
TV.
wasn't what they
you can
wanted.
look on there, but yeah, it's not.
Well, and I've looked, and I think it capped at like 6,000 players, man.
Yeah, concurrent players, but not copies sold.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta plug that into a formula and kind of guesstimate how that's gonna unravel. But like,
yeah, I personally think that the FGC is kind of starved of a new IP, but that would be even harder to do, to be honest. I mean,
I don't know if I agree with that, man. I think I don't think there's any like headroom for more fighting game stuff. I think we got too much, especially with all the team games coming out. I'm like, what's going on?
Dude, we're gonna get so oversaturated with tag fighters, dude. It like that. I'm not looking forward to, like, I know 2026 is everybody's saying, oh, we're gonna eat good. I'm like, dude, you're gonna have 2XKO and what else is there? 2XKO, Marvel Token. What else is there? Invincible versus you had Hunter x Hunter, and that didn't do well at all. So I mean,
that's a shame.
I'm not too worried about it, but I mean, that's
well, I am, because I'm a huge Hunter x Hunter fan. Right. I never watched Avatar, but I love Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, and Avatar, but the Avatar is a 2D fighter. It's not going to be it's not a tag fighter. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Avatar just because I'm such a big Avatar fan. Yeah, I just think we're going to get oversaturated with a bunch of tag fighters, and I think I'm not sure which one it's going to be, but I think only one is going to stand at the top. But yeah, I think the market's like pretty saturated with fighters, and they need to spread them out. I would rather them spread out a little bit.
Do you think Virtual Fighter 6 is coming out in 2026?
My guess is 2027. I don't think it's going to be 2026. I think it's probably going to be like mid 2027 if I was to guess.
It's interesting, man. I mean, I want the game to succeed, but I'm not seeing a lot of substance in the hype around it. That's what worries me more than anything.
I think go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, like, if you ask someone who their favorite Virtual Fighter character is, it's Crickets, man.
Yeah, you don't think people are going to say it? I think if you were to ask, like, Rooflemonger, he would tell you exactly who it is, but he's a huge Virtual Fighter fan. But if you're going to be like, oh, who, I would bet the general, like, if you were to tell me, okay, I even asked, I did a test today. I'm like, talking about Street Fighter. I was talking with a coworker, and we were talking about gaming and stuff. And I brought up, I'm like, okay, you've heard of Street Fighter, right? And he goes, yeah. Okay. And he goes, who's the main character? And he's like, I don't really know. And I was like, okay, well, do you know who Ryu is? He goes, yeah. Do you know Ken, Chun-Li, Blanca? Do you know Guile? And he goes, yeah. Do you know who Cammy is? And he's like, no, I don't know who Cammy is. I was like, oh, do you know who Zangief is? And he goes, no. So those are all like even the basic ones. But if you even were to, I was like, have you heard of Jury or Ibuki? Have you heard of, any of those characters? I mean, even like the huge amount of like Street Fighter 4 cast. The Street Fighter 4 cast, but that and a lot of people would know it. But if you were to go to like Virtua Fighter and you were to actually ask somebody who's the main character of Virtua Fighter, like, or who's like the front, the cover boy of it, I think a lot of people probably wouldn't know. I mean, you and I would say like Akira, of course, but a lot of people wouldn't know. Maybe they'd say Sarah.
Yeah, Akira and Sarah are the only characters I can name from Virtua Fighter. Mm-hmm. So, and also maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask, but
yeah.
Yeah, when I hear people talk about Virtua Fighter 6 in our Discord, I don't see the substance you would expect. Because, I mean, if I really loved a game, my first thing would be, is my character coming back? That'd be my first question. With Virtua Fighter, it's a little more flexible because they don't, to my knowledge, they don't really dump characters the way Street Fighter does, or especially the way Mortal Kombat does. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's quite the same conversation, but with Soul Calibur 6, like, some of us were worried, man. We were like, dude, like, if that character doesn't come back, like, what am I even going to do? Like, I don't want to play Ivy. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
So give me a rough summary. Why DOA has not grown larger over the years, and what can we do to fix it? What's your 1 minute summary?
I think basically, like, all the presentation around the game has to be awesome. And there has to be a lot of stuff to do in the actual game. And if you do all that perfectly, I think we can leave the whole system as it is. Well, we can do that no matter what.
Right.
But assuming this game does not have like a massive Street Fighter 6 budget, then what we got to do is we got to give people we got to give new players a reason to engage the whole system. I think if we can do that, we can actually have like a Tekken 7 sort of boost that we saw in like 2019. late 2018. But yeah, one of those things has to happen though. I don't think we can do DOA 6 again, but with like DOA 5 like fixes. I don't think we can do that. That's not going to fly.
For me, what I would say is like, why has it not grown larger over the years? And I would honestly say is the one of the biggest, kind of like DOA 6 kind of shot itself in the foot because it just didn't know what it was. They would market itself as like, oh, we're going to dress a little bit more. We're going to have our main characters be a little bit more conservative, but we're also going to have the core values, incident. And I just don't think it knew exactly where it was, versus Dead or Alive 5 was kind of nodding and winking towards the sex appeal of it and do that. But I mean, why it has not grown larger over the years, I think the presentation, like you said, I'd say is a really good word for that. The presentation of it, they over the years, ever since Dead or Alive 6, they tried too hard to not fix, but just present it differently when they shouldn't have. But what can we do to fix it? Is I would honestly say make the cool looking characters do cool looking things, make those cool looking things challenging and rewarding. I would honestly say, like the Marvel Rivals thing I said, was create a system that allows you to unlock things and keep you engaged for a long period of time. And probably the biggest thing, also not the biggest, but another big thing, was developer support, like long-term developer support. I think if Dead or Alive 6 continued to support after a year, it probably would be in a better spot right now.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. Man, let's hope it happens. That's all I can say. I would really like a new DOA game. And one thing I've always respected about DOA is the good things in the previous games don't go away.
Right.
We still have all those classic costumes and whatnot. So
it still keeps coming back. Yeah. So, all right, dude, that was fun. Thanks. Just to let you know, we were going to actually add more to this, or just let the audience know we were going to actually add more to this. So we're actually going to split this into, another segment. So we're gonna do another recording at a different time. We're gonna go over art style.
Yeah, and in the comments, if there's anything else you guys want us to address, I'm sure we'd be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, thanks again, Temp. This is fun. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You take care, dude.
Later.